Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL, and this is one more of the 16 color fancy candy type bracelets. And this one turns out to have been super easy. Well, is it really super easy if you have to keep looking at the pattern to be able to make sure you make the changes in the appropriate spot? In that aspect, it was a little bit harder. Like, it wasn't like just a keep doing what you're doing, because there's this whole big change up in the middle of it. But where the last one took me an hour and a half to make, this one only took an hour and 15 minutes. So there was, or 16 minutes maybe. But that's a pretty sizable difference in time as far as how long it took to make. And I'm not even completely sure how that happened, but yeah, it really came together pretty quickly. And I may have made some things similar to this while having some kind of similar traits in the past, where the boxes that get made into the pattern were solid. But I don't think I've ever done it where it's like little boxes with the other colors on the inside. So as far as like this type of friendship bracelet, this one really feels like brand new to me, and I love it. It starts out really simple. You can see with the little diamonds with it just 4 knots in the middle. Not a big deal. But then it gets bigger until it hits the center one. Yeah, so I kind of have thought about this pattern, this idea in my head for a couple of days, and I had contemplated going down to like the single line towards the end, but I thought no, because the focal point is this big diamond in the center, that it should be diamonds running from beginning to end with different sizes. I also toyed with the idea that a big one in the middle getting smaller and then maybe getting big towards the end, like towards the beginning and the end of the bracelet. And I decided not to go that route because I wanted to make the middle of the bracelet the main focal point of it, and have everything else sort of pointing you towards that, like that, make that like the really special thing. And I think that works. I think it actually works out really, really, really well. That's not to say I wouldn't play around with like a big diamond, medium, big, medium, big, medium throughout the whole thing, like just to try it. But yeah, I definitely like the way this turned out. And the contrast really works out because the diamond, the biggest diamond, does not go so far towards the edges. So that kind of works out really, really well. Because yeah, in this type of bracelet where the contrast comes from knots going the other direction, if you make it too wide, you're getting into the colors that you're using, as opposed to having the contrast which is in the middle. So yeah, it'd be kind of, it would take away from it if you make the diamond get too big. So I'm not sure I'm even explaining that very well. I'm really trying, because I definitely know this for like past usage. But yeah, it's the contrast is because there's 16 colors, and when you're halfway through it, you're halfway through the colors from the other side. So that's kind of the gist of how the whole thing works. So yeah, so far on the screen, it's only been like the smallest ones. And as I was doing this part, I'm like, oh my God, this thing is gonna take like a really long time, because it feels like I was getting nowhere, judging by the clock and what my expectations were. But then I realized that like that little diamond I just made is the last of the small ones, and so now I have to bring down 3 rows, so that way instead of just 2, because then it becomes a bigger diamond in the center. And So I thought, okay, well, that's a little bit quicker. And yeah, it wasn't until kind of later on that I realized, like, oh, this thing really is going fast. So yeah, kind of came as a shock. Definitely an easy bracelet. You may have to watch the pattern, you know, closely to make sure that you're not making mistakes. And you may have to actually customize the pattern based on the colors that you choose. Again, it's a 16 string bracelet with 16 different colors, and that may seem easy enough, but to get like a nice rainbow fade, it's kind of to get the 16 colors. Yeah, you're probably going to come up with your own set. For one, I think if I was doing it again, I think I would try to balance out the hot and cold colors a bit more. There's a few more cold colors than there are hot in this. But in some ways that kind of works. It kind of, I don't know. It's up to you guys to come up with your colors. But then you have to like maybe work on changing the pattern a bit to match your colors, because otherwise it could be really kind of tricky trying to figure out like where you are if they're not matching up. So okay, the 3 rows is done. You get that cool little bright diamond with reds and orange in the middle of all of the blues, and now you've got these greens coming down, and it's going to have purples and blue inside of that diamond. So yeah, making the diamonds wasn't as hard as I thought. I really was anticipating some kind of difficulty level with this one, but it's not. It's pretty darn easy. And I definitely feel like there's so many more ways to explore this and try it. Yeah, I don't know. We might come back to this. We'll see. I definitely like it though. So yeah, like the small diamonds that we were doing before is actually inside of the bigger diamond this time. That's sort of neat. So yeah, curious what you guys think about these patterns, if there's any one of them that turned out to be your favorite. And so yeah, leave me a comment, let me know. I've got 2 more days to fill, and I think I've already got an idea of what I kind of want to try, but I'm not sure how that's even going to turn out or anything. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this random thought that I had to make another bracelet like this, but very, very different. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, still looking for your guys' input. I want to hear what kind of ideas you would like me to kind of cover, if you want me to continue making more of these easier ones, or should we get to as difficult as possible? What kind of things? Sometimes the most difficult ones is really about just getting the pattern figured out. And then once you have the pattern, it's not so hard anymore. And that's kind of why I'm trying to teach you guys how to make the patterns. Is nothing, even the biggest project I ever made, once I had the pattern sorted and knew what I was doing, it wasn't hard anymore. You know, it just took a long time. That one, the biggest project I ever did, took me 9 months to complete, but I have a 5-foot wall hanging now as a result. So yay. So yeah, this is the biggest diamond. This one has 5 nuts going into it, and it has like a center of 9 nuts on the inside, you know, 3 rows of 3 that makes up the middle of it. And again, the colors contrast really well. It really makes the whole thing really go. So yeah, I didn't need quite as much time to be able to talk about this one. But yeah, I really do love this one a lot. Might be my favorite out of the series so far. Like, because it's just different, right? It's so simple, but it's kind of elegant. It has this really interesting thing going on that makes you kind of want to look closer and see how that came about. You know, I love that. Oh, well, we're past the halfway point, so let me just thank my YouTube members for making all this possible. Guys, I really I have gone through a lot of floss, particularly this month. We've had some really big projects, and getting more floss has been really essential to this whole operation. So guys, thank you so much for that. And I'm looking forward to making more stuff, like coming up with new ideas and new crazy things to try out. So yeah, kind of cool. Oh, so the pattern, I shared an image of some of my bracelets over on Reddit, and they're like, pattern number? And it's like, I kind of don't do pattern numbers because I don't use those websites. I put it on my own website, AKAAWOL.com. So there's that. Plus, if you want the patterns nice and early, then you have to become a member, and then you go to the community tab, which I think is now being called posts. I don't know why. It feels like Google tried to go back to like when they were just, what was it? G? What was their thing where they were doing posts and whatever, like yeah, whatever that was. It feels like they're trying to go back to that instead of having it be the community tab. But anyways, that's where the patterns are for the members. And then if you wait until the video's gone public, if you're watching this and it's already gone public, then the website is where to get it from, AKAAWOL.com. They'll be under the tutorials. Mandy typically within a couple days of the video's release, we'll put into the comment section a link to the website. I'd like to say she does it the day the video comes out, but that's not necessarily true. We get busy, but there are things other than just tying strings around here. So Mandy does it because the whole process of doing so many different things was making me go crazy. So we agreed that we would share some of the tasks. Oh, odd thing. This next row is contains oranges and red in it, and that is just like the diamond that was on the other side of the same size. So it cycled through all of the colors and perfectly makes this next diamond the same color as it was before, which feels like a complete coincidence. Kind of didn't expect it, wasn't planning on it, just kind of came out that way. Looks super cool. I love it. And this is the last of the larger boxes. It only has one thing in the middle of it, but it's the bigger boxes, and then it just goes into the little tiny diamonds. And yeah, this is, like I said, a faster bracelet, possibly prettier. What more could you really ask for? Honestly, right? It's really cool. And I definitely think that, like, I might experiment more with this in the future. I don't want to cut up the floss to do it, because 16 colors, that means if I pull out 16 skeins, it'll make that'd be enough to do 3 of these bracelets. I don't know what I would do with the other 2. Well, I could really play around, I guess, but 3 different ones? I don't know. I guess what I would need is for you guys to motivate me and say, yes, I want more patterns like this. What else can you do to get me kind of motivated in trying it? Because that would be a big motivator for me. Like if I've got people who are watching my videos and they're like, yes, please, you know, make things happen, then that's kind of different for me just trying to come up with some patterns on my own. So yeah, so it starts to taper down in this next segment here. So like that, when this light green gets to the end, that's the end of that one, and then it starts to taper in. I think the method I took in making this is probably the fastest possible, and it did use the colors pretty evenly. I had no trouble with any of the strands being too short or anything like that. So yeah, if you have questions, thoughts you want to have answered, just throw it in the comments. I'll try my best. Yeah, see, already the light green goes off to the side because it's no longer in going to be in any of the knots, and then this yellow will go off to the side as well, and it just kind of tapers in this way. It's kind of like just a visual thing for me to be like, okay, those strings are done, and just kind of helps me to visualize the fact that like where it ends and what's going on with it. So that's why that's over to the side like that. Oh, and if you haven't already, join Discord, because over there we can share pictures. So like if there's something you're working on but you're trying to get an answer to, you can share a picture over on Discord. It works out better than just trying to use YouTube. Yeah, we're almost to the end of the month, you know, and I don't know if you noticed, I try to have different themes for different months. So yeah, we'll come up with something different for next month. But yeah, still a couple days left. A couple days for me to try something absolutely insane. And I already know what I'm gonna do is a little bit on the weird side, but I want to see what it does. And that's what better thing to do than to just try an experimentation just to see what you get from it, right? So yeah, I'll probably start working on that tomorrow. So, oh, I should mention this whole thing was made during a YouTube stream. So if you want to see it in real time, members get to watch the behind the scenes shooting. Well, most of this got done. Then it was a long day, but yeah, you can watch that kind of stuff as a YouTube member. So there you go. Be sure to hit like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.